Alright guys, I don't know what happened to the audio at the beginning of this clip, but for whatever reason it was super muffled and you can't hear anything. So this is my 1982 Chev K20. It's a 3/4 ton full-size pickup, 4-wheel drive. Then I go through my likes, dislikes, future plans, and upgrades, stuff like that. Now, I kind of ramble on, and I apologize about that. This is my first video, and I will be doing another later on in the future. Once I do more to it, I will also do one for my other truck once I get some stuff started on that. I've mainly been focusing on this truck in the meantime, but anyway, enjoy the video. I appreciate any feedback or comments or anything like that you decide to comment. And let's get into it.
To start with, we changed out the headlights from the factory halogens to the Speed Demon LED combo units because I don't have the dual headlights like some of these pickups do. They're great, nice and bright. They got an awesome cutoff. We got Speed Demon side blinder, 280 degree lights. Got one as well on that side, so there's two on the bumper. Smitty built XRC 12K, I believe this is their competition winch or however they classify it. Synthetic rope. 35 by 12.5, 16 Mickey Thompson MTZs on American Racing. I forget what ones they call these now, but there's 16 by 10 with a negative 28 offset. Mile marker locking hubs. I had Warren premiums on it, but this wheel bearing decided to let go and it just destroyed this hub, and the other hub wasn't in the best of shape, so I just bought new ones. We got 6 Speed Demon Black Ops 4 LED pods. These are decently bright. This setup's gonna change. Roof visor, spare tire, enthuse 4-person soft shell rooftop tent. These are kind of knockoff brand taillights that I went with. Parts aren't exactly that easy to find for this thing. You know, it's 43 years old. Custom transport mud flaps because these tires are absolute stone throwers, so I needed something just to avoid people getting rocks in their window because I don't want to be one of those guys. Don't mind the mess inside, but we got 223, almost 224 on the clock. No air. Factory radio still works. We got a 3000 watt inverter, which that's the remote screen for it. I can turn it on and off with. Revitus RT95, I believe. VHF, UHF dual band radio. That guy actually works really well. I reached up to 18K away. It was a clear day, mind you, but I mean, for that little antenna that's on there, it's pretty good. So it's 4-speed, technically 3-speed granny low, but 4-speed nonetheless. It's powered by a 350 small block. It's got a cam in it. I don't know what else is done to it. I don't know the full history on this truck. All I know is I'm third owner on it. Bought new by an old guy. Used it on his farm for years. Then the guy I got it off of bought it, used it as a hunting truck only. Um, go back and forth to town every once in a while with it. And then now that I got it, I daily it, off-road with it, and over, like, kind of an off-road overland type combo. I'm not doing anything like hardcore, but some of it's classified more off-roady expedition style. But so this motor, you can tell, has been out at one point because the entire thing is painted. It's got, you know, irregular old Chevy oil leaks, but 4-barrel carb intake. I do plan on doing headers on it, just because it's got an exhaust leak right now and it's kind of annoying on the highway. But so let's get into the likes and dislikes. So I'm gonna start with the dislikes because there's a lot less of those. Fuel economy, that's an obvious one with any old truck, or truck in general to begin with, but especially the old ones. The gear ratios in the transmission are kind of funky. First, or low in this transmission's case. Sorry guys, just setting it up. So low gear is stupid low. Like, you're lucky to hit 5 kilometers an hour to the floor. Second gear, you can hit 10-20 kilometers an hour, and then third gear is the weird one because it's a really, really long gear. You'll be in it all the way from about 30-40 kilometers an hour all the way up to about 80 before you can really shift into fourth. Fourth's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's pretty much highway gear at that point. You hit any hills, anything else, it just starts crawling down speed, much like a semi-truck would, actually. 35s do not help that case any, because that has a lot of rolling resistance. It does have 411 gearing in the diffs, which sort of counteract that a little bit. I do plan on upgrading them eventually, but I want to swap out the front diff for a Dana 60 out of the 1-tons. Just much stronger, plus I want to go a full float in the rear. The other dislikes, rust. This truck in particular doesn't have a whole lot of it, thankfully. Still lots of paint left on the frame. Fenders are starting to see better days. The one with driver's side rockers, yeah, halfway rotten out. The box, someone had cut the wheel wells out, so I can't say if there was rust or they just did that clearance wise. I don't know what they did, but the box itself has no rust. There's no rot, no nothing on it. Frame's in good shape, but it's just, I'm not a fan of rust on anything. But at the same time, I plan on like off-roading this truck, so come spring, I'm gonna basically chop out the rust and patch panel it in, just to get rid of it. I'm not gonna make it look pretty, nothing like that. It's not gonna be some show truck. It's still a daily driver. It's still gonna be wheeled on the weekends. Like, it's one of those rigs. The camo paint job on it, I'd love to keep. I think I'm gonna end up changing it, because once I start changing out those panels, the entire panel itself, it's gonna be really hard to match it. I didn't do the camo on it myself. That was the first owner of the truck that did that. So to try and match it, I'm not a bad painter, but I'm not good when it comes to designs like that. I could do solid colors and match paint that way, or very easy designs like a two-tone or tri-tone paint job. I could do that, but camouflage is not my thing. I've never done a camo paint job on anything. So I'm likely to end up probably just all one color, maybe a two-tone. These era trucks had some really nice factory two-tone styles I might end up going back to. Or I'll prime it, prep it, and wrap it. I would like to do a wrap for the channel. Being part of Onyx and stuff like that too, I reached out to them to see if I can incorporate their logo and go forth with that, included in the wrap if they do. If not, that's their prerogative, that's their company. The other dislike is obviously ride comfort. Now, this truck ain't anything like a modern pickup. Modern pickups ride really well. They got independent suspension, or at least the Chevs and Fords and like half tons and stuff. But the biggest difference between even the 3/4 ton, like say the Super Duty or the Ram 2500, 3500 series, is this guy's full leaf spring all four corners. So it doesn't have quite the same suspension geometry, not the same ride quality. It is a lot tougher. Like it's more tough in that aspect. Like it's designed to take weight. These trucks were built to use. They were not creature comfort trucks. They weren't luxury, nothing. Like they were designed to use. Simple to fix. Hard-working trucks. The other dislike, due to my setup, like this is, this rack I went with. This is a Vivor, the Chinese brand that make like diesel heaters and all that stuff. It's rated for 1,000 pounds, and like it's all steel. It's decent quality for the price. However, the thing I don't like is right in the center here is where it like links together. It likes to sag with weight. It used to have like the hoops and the bars that go across here. I cut them off because of the tent. It interfered with the tent. Even when I built it like that, I had put the tent up there just for storage, just to already have it up there before I cut these rails off. And even with all that extra bars, and there was like a clamp in the center here, it still sagged in the middle. That's easily solved by just putting a crosser down in here. But I wish the clamping setup from like when you buy it had a little bit better of a setup so it clamps nicer. Maybe something that like locks around it, or a tube that you slide into and then you kind of like a sleeve. They also don't give you all the hardware that you need. So there's these ones and those guys that don't have bolts in them. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't affect anything. But it's just, I guess, personal preference really. But the other thing easily solved is tint. I'm a big fan of tint just because, for one, privacy, and two, in a single cab pickup, when the sun starts shining in there, it is bright. It is really hard to see while you're driving. Again, like I said, that's easily solved. You just gotta tint it. However, our laws here are like you're not allowed tint at all, I believe, like no matter what the percentage is. I think it's just not allowed at all. A lot of people run it, seem to get away with it. So others say that they get bugged all the time. I'm not a fan of being pulled over unless, of course, I'm actually doing something wrong. I don't believe tint constitutes to doing something wrong. Like, if you can see in and you can see out fine, then in my opinion, who cares? It's one of those things, like the stupid dark ones that like people put on the front window and all that stuff. That I get. I get the reasoning behind that, but I don't plan on going that dark. Like I just want like a slight tint just to help with the sun. The other thing I don't like on square bodies in particular is the steering setup. Now, it's not like your Jeeps where it's got like a drag link that goes across with your tie rod. It's not set up like that at all. On your steering knuckle, oh, actually, here, you know what? I'll pop you off this mount and I can show you. Alright. So, don't mind the power steering links. So this is your steering setup. So this goes up onto your steering box, down, back to this, I believe it's called drag link. I could, correct me if I'm wrong, I just can't think of it right now. I know what it is, but, so that there attaches to the steering knuckle. Goes over, goes to the, no, sorry, this is your drag link. Anyways, it's set up like that. So it's a push-pull steering instead of side to side like a Jeep or something would. Like, you got your tie rod and whatnot, but it's just, you start getting flexy or any sort of lift or anything heavy on it, it's not smooth, you know, like it binds up a little bit. Like, it doesn't lock the steering unless of course it's like super worn out, but it's just not a great setup, honestly. It's really not. So eventually I plan on doing a crossover steering system, which will then ditch that setup and put it like a Jeep or any modern solid axle truck would have. It's just a lot nicer, a lot smoother. It's just an all-around better setup. The other thing is being part of the like Onyx team and mapping trails and all that stuff. It's a real pain in the butt having it where when I'm trying to use my phone, I don't have a phone mount in the truck. None of them work that well. I haven't tried the quad lock ones yet. I might try one of those and see. That's the only other option. I've tried so many others. But it's still a pain using my phone, because if I want to log anything and then take pictures with my phone, I have to pause the recording, grab my phone, switch out of the app to my camera app, you know, take my pictures and then switch back. Where modern trucks with touchscreens and all that stuff, they got, you know, your CarPlay or Android Auto, whatever device you're on. There is a company that does offer that. It's $900 US just to change the bezel, to put it in. And there's still a lot of custom fab work that has to be done inside the dash to get it to work. It's just these trucks, that's long before, this truck's before, you know, any of that stuff. Like, it wasn't even in the thought process. Another thing is not so much off-road accessories for these trucks. There is a lot, but armor, like rock sliders, fender guards, like, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, Jeeps, Rams, Super Duties, all the modern trucks, there's a ton offered for them. This truck, there's not. Having the dual saddle tanks, it's even harder to fab up the rock slider setup. I don't plan on being in trails where rock sliders are necessarily a must, but I do find myself venturing into some cut blocks and a lot of other places where you kind of come up over a hump and it looks like it's, you know, just a little bump or whatever, and it's just moss. So you sink down and you touch. These body panels are all available for these trucks, a lot more available than they used to be, but they're not cheap. If I want to buy the like say, do the rockers, That's a couple $100 in just patch panels, plus I gotta weld them in and paint and all that stuff. So to be able to run rock sliders would be nice. Now, the other thing is overland accessories. Like this rooftop tent setup, I had to think it through and piece it all together and set it up completely custom. Like none of this was really meant to do any of this. Like the rooftop tent is universal, obviously, like it just mounts to any like rack or anything like that. But I had to go with a bed rack in order to do that. Now to try and buy like trying to think of, you know, like you see a lot of the overland trucks, they got the stubby bed racks and stuff like that. Most of those are only offered for like more modern trucks, like in the 2000s and like modern day trucks. I'm sure I could retrofit them to get onto my box, but again, that leads back to the problem I have with overlanding accessories is not many people overland a square body. You know, like so companies don't offer a whole lot for them. And it comes down to a ton of custom work. Maybe, you know, it might be just drilling some holes or cutting and splicing a bar or something like that. Sometimes it's very easy to. It's just the fact of I can't just walk into a shop, be like, hey, I want to order that, buy it, bolt it on. It's not as simple as that on most cases. Again, that's, you know, the issue with having an old truck. Those are just things you just sort of work around and deal with and all that stuff. I knew that getting into this truck. Still pain. But let's get into the likes. It's a square body. I mean, who doesn't love a square body? The amount of likes and like people that stop me while I'm at the gas station or at the store or literally be driving past, turn around and come talk to me, you know, complimenting the truck. Like, it's just, I've owned a lot of trucks, like a lot of custom built trucks, a lot of, like, I had a SEMA truck at one point. That was many years ago, but like, I never ever get as many compliments and attention as I did with any square bodies I've ever owned. I've had about 5 in total. Like, this is like my 5th one. The other thing is the simplicity to work on it. It is so easy to do anything. Like, you don't need there's the odd special tool you need, but like 98% of this entire truck you could do with literally a simple hand tool kit that you could buy from like Canadian Tire, like those like Stanley like 120 piece socket sets that come with like 2 ratchets and all that stuff. You could do just about anything on this truck with. Diagnosing problems. There is next to no electronics on this truck. No electronics really needed to run. As long as your alternator is working and you have a way to jump the starter with power, it will run. Literally air, fuel, spark, all you need for this truck. No computers, no big fancy diagnostic tools, nothing. There in the engine bay, there's a total of 11 wires. 3 of which are for the alternator alone. The others for the coil. And then, like, they're so simple. Like, it's the most practical truck to go into the bush with. They're tough, easy, and they're just cool. The other thing I like is, what do you call it? I guess you could say like the versatility of it, especially being 3/4 ton. It's got a really good load rating on it, which doesn't help with the ride quality, obviously, but for overlanding, like, I could load this thing up. Like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my truck's really heavy, I'm sagging out, I need to change out my suspension, my coils, all this stuff. Like, it's just beating it up. This truck could hold 9,600 pounds as a payload, like, in the box. Like, that's a lot, especially considering, like, that rooftop tent, 160 pounds, spare tires, about 120, 130 pounds. Like, you could load this thing up and not worry about it. Another thing I like is, don't mind the messy box here, I gotta clean it out, I just haven't had a chance. But if you look, I don't know which owner, but one of the two previous owners built this little organizer in the bottom. It conveniently is the how they built the shell, like the spaces in it. It worked out perfect to put the slip tank in. It won't slide this way, it can't slide that way. Obviously it's got the box right behind it. I still strapped it down, just, you never know, right? It's just extra security. But this is a 500 liter slip tank. You want to put one of these in a half ton. You know, this thing full, you're gonna sag out the suspension. Like, it's just how it's gonna be. You're gonna have to upgrade your suspension, change this, change that, change this. This truck from factory, already set up. It can hold all the weight. The other thing I like is this truck is completely stock suspension. Actually, if anything, it's sagged out suspension. I am losing about 4 inches total height in the front and about 2.5, 3 in the rear. This is zero lift, not a level, nothing. This is completely like it was 43 years ago. Outside losing the suspension height, like I said, but that's 35s. And look at the ground clearance. Like, it's so easy to do these things. Like, when you look up lift kits, most trucks, a 6-inch lift is only rated for 35s. Like, most of them you could fit bigger. Like, obviously, like, a lot of people run 37s with a 6-inch lift, but they rub. On 35s, I rub a tiny little bit, but that's just because I went with super wide and offset rims, so they stick out tremendously more than factory. But a 4-inch lift on this thing is rated for 35s. A 6-inch lift is rated for 37s, and a 12-inch lift, I think, is 42s or 44s is what they say. Now you may think 12-inch lift, yeah, okay, but for those that know, 44s are massive tires, like absolutely massive. Like, to just fit those factory, no rub, no nothing, full suspension flex and never touch a thing, just by putting a lift in, most times you can't do that with a modern truck. Jeeps, you can get away with it a lot just because a lot of the off-road packages got really good wheel well clearance. But it's just one of those things. And like, future plans, I plan on upgrading that rack. I'm actually thinking of going with like one of those, like an Alu cab. I don't want the built-in camper. I still want to use my rooftop tent, so I just mainly want like an aluminum cap. Put the rooftop tent on there, and then for the spare tire, I'm gonna get like a platform rack and mount it direct. so I can sit the tire on it, run my lights, you know, stuff like that. I can still keep all that. 4-inch lift is what I'm gonna go with. I wanted a 6. But I measured it out. My current height to the bottom of the tent right now is 6'8" on how it's set up right now. So the 4-inch is already going to significantly increase that, and the 6-inch, calculating out, because I'm going all new leaves, so it's going to take out that sag and give the lift. The 4-inch is actually about 7 inches total height lift. The 6-inch is 9 or 10 inches total height lift. So it's huge difference. And measuring it out is just 6 inches is just too much. If I planned on turning this thing into a wheeling truck, I'd go 6 all day long. But I want to keep the center of gravity down low too, just because I am in off-camber trails and stuff a lot. The other upgrades, like I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, is I want to swap the front diff for a Dana 60 out of a 1-ton, and then swap the semi-float 14 bolt for a full float. It's just a little bit stronger, easier to work on, stuff like that. I am going to do lockers, front and rear, selectable lockers, because I do daily it and I want to be able to disengage them. The other thing is I'm ditching the 6, well, not ditching them, but taking the 6 and upgrading them to 12. I got a buddy that's giving me a mount that currently has a light bar in it, but I'm gonna take the light bar out, put the 12 pods in it. I may run the light bar somewhere in the grill, or I'm not entirely sure. I will use it. It's gonna go somewhere. The other thing is, the reason why I want a cap is I want to do kind of like a really overlandy style box setup. So kitchen, slide out, drawers, storage, the whole 9 yards, which I could do right now, and that's totally fine. But I want everything to be protected. Like I don't want it exposed to dirt and all that stuff, and you know, like I just want it to be all around. Plus, like I live in a pretty decent part of town where I live. I got tools that sit in the back and stuff like that. Nothing ever gets touched. But you still run that risk. Like that's expensive equipment. People know it's expensive equipment, even if they don't know anything else about it. But to them, like in the eyes of a thief, it's expensive. They could sell it for money, right? Like it's just, I don't want to risk it. Like I'd rather just protect it all and call it a day, and you know. The other thing I want to upgrade, and this is way down the road. I want to ditch the 350, go with a 454. Ditch the transmission, go with forgive me, I'm not too familiar with the names of transmissions. I believe it's an NV 4500. It's out of like 3/4 ton, 1-ton manual transmissions like Dodges and stuff like that. But basically I want to go 6-speed is what I'm going to end up with. Ditch the manual clutch, go with a hydraulic. There's the crossover steering that I said. I might do the high steer kit after I do the lift. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to bring it from underneath the leaf to over top the leaf. Then I'm going to do differential skids and guards. Another thing is, if you look underneath, I have no skid plates. Skid plates just don't exist for this thing. So there's the saddle tank, like I was saying. So in order to do a skid plate, I have to, you know, bolt up, out, come across, do another support, and then run something flat underneath in order to do this. It's doable. It's just pain. It's a pain. That's all it is. What's the other plans? Like, yeah, so the engine, stuff like that. Gonna get rid of all the rust. Like to do a cap with the roof rack setup. Kind of change that up. Ditch this style rack. Transmission, transfer case. It's got a decent transfer case in it. It is chain drive, but it's one of the stronger ones. Maybe I might get hardcore and do an Atlas or something. It'd be cool, but not. I drive on the highway with it, so like I gotta watch how low of gearing I go. Otherwise, the poor guys behind me, I'll be lucky if I can even come near the speed limit. Like, I'm lucky to hit the speed limit right now. It's a box. This thing is not fast. And then, yeah, like, get rid of the rust and stuff like that. Any of you guys that, you know people or have done it themselves with these square bodies or have other suggestions for setups, comment. I am totally open to hearing feedback about the truck itself, its current setup, what you think of the future plans, or if you got any ideas that I haven't thought of that might make life easier or camping easier or anything like that. Just comment below, and I read everything, try and comment back to everything, you know, either a thank you or, you know, part conversation or whatever it may be. But yeah, that's my current standing. I will revisit another one of these videos in the future once I get more done. I have another truck that I'm building too, so I'm juggling two trucks, 3/4 ton and a 1 ton, two entirely different builds. So there's that as well, plus work. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a little bit long. I might try and trim this down, just section it in. But outside that, yeah, comment below and enjoy the rest of your day.